G'day there guys, it's Connie here again from Marquee Industries and we are back reading some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty guys, we're on Bridezillas. This one was written by user JustaRN and it's titled, "Coworker asked me to be her man of honor. I said no and she went nuts. What did I miss?" This happened yesterday and I'm still confused. Yesterday was my first day back to work after being off for 2 weeks. This is kinda important. One of my coworkers had gotten engaged the week before I left. When she announced at work, we all did the congratulations and happy for her type of things. I thought it was over, so when I left for vacation, the last I knew, no plans had yet been made. Then yesterday, when I went back to work, my boss Kim and best friend Laura said that coworker Claire was looking for me. I asked what was up, and they weren't sure, but she was carrying a little gift bag. A few minutes later, Claire found me and asked how my vacation was. I was telling them about it, and she cut me off and said she had a very important question to ask. She handed me a little gift bag and asked if I would be her best man of honor for her wedding. I thanked her and told her that typically this would traditionally go to a close female relationship. She responded that there was nothing traditional about her wedding, so it was good. I looked over at Laura and Kim, who were both trying to keep from laughing. I again thanked her, congratulated her, and told her that I wasn't interested in being a part of her wedding party and that I would be happier being a guest in the audience. I swear, when I said this, it was when we watched her entire demeanor changed and a switch flipped. She went off saying that I have to be in her wedding and that she doesn't understand why I would say no. I told her that we only knew each other for a short time, and that I had no interest in trying to plan parties, dinners, and shopping trips. She told me I needed to think about it and she would get back to me later. I told her go for it, but my answer will be the same. She walked away and I looked at Kim and Laura and asked what the ever-loving fresh creepy hell was that. Kim started to laugh and said she didn't know, but saying no like I did might have saved me a lot of headaches in the future. Laura made the comment that she went straight to Bridezilla and that this was a look into what she was going to be like. Claire came back today, however she went with a different approach and handed me a list of what she wants me to do and her vision of how she sees things. I asked her why she gave me this, and she said that, as her man of honor, these were my responsibilities. I told her again that I was not going to do any of this. She started again that she needs me to do this and how much fun it was going to be. Then she asked, "Haven't you ever wanted to be a part of something special?" I told her I was a nurse. And to Kim, who could sense that I needed help, and told Claire one of her patients needed her help. I told Kim that if this keeps up, I might need her help. She said she was already watching it and would intervene if I needed it. What did I miss? We aren't that close. She just transferred down to my unit from a different unit 6 months ago. I had no idea who she was until that point. Laura is saying that she is close in age to me and she might feel that to be enough of a connection. Did I miss something? When we are asked, are we supposed to automatically gush and jump up and down in excitement? Why is saying no a bad thing? It's not a bad thing, but it sounds like Claire's just a bit desperate here. She's probably a pretty lonely person who has no one else to turn to, which is sad in and of itself, but obviously Opie should not feel inclined to go just because of that. Let's go to the comments. It seems Kim is useless here. You really need to go over Kim's head and nip this in the bud right now because Claire isn't taking no for an answer. Opie says, "Kim will help. I know she will. She's just waiting to see what her next step is. I've had to have her help with a work issue before. If I have problems with her the next time we work together, then I'll let Kim loose." Could this be some weird way to flirt? It won't work with me. I like dick, lol, and I have a boyfriend, lol. I'm not an expert, but isn't this a HR issue now? I mean, isn't that like harassment? Opie says, "It becomes an issue if I report it. My boss has seen all of it so far and has said that she's watching the situation and will intervene if it keeps going. I'm off tomorrow, so I won't see her for a couple of days." She wants to show off how different and edgy she is by having a man of honor. She may also admire your organizing skills and get it done demeanor and thinks you'll throw her great wedding-related parties. Opie says, "I'm a bad gay guy friend. I'm organized when it comes to a lot of things, but planning a wedding is something that I've never done and really don't want to learn to do. If I were to ever get married, it's midnight under a full moon at the beach with a few friends and a cookout the next day. Okay, this is going to sound weird, but since she's advertising that it's a non-traditional wedding, is it possible she's after you for a specific reason? Are you gay or part of a racial minority? It's possible she wants her wedding to look super diverse for Instagram reasons, and maybe she's after you for a specific vibe in the pictures, regardless of the reason, not the a-hole. Opie says, I don't know her background. Yes, I am gay, and the entire department knows it because I was dating a former nurse and we broke up. Now I'm dating someone from a different department and it's all known. All she said was it was a less traditional wedding and it would be okay. Yesterday, K&L asked if I was afraid of something about it. Maybe if I had to wear a dress. I said I would frickin' rock the dress. I might need a push-up to fill out the front of the dress if it's a strapless lol, but I just don't want anything to do with it. I have no interest. My life is crazy enough right now. Planning a wedding would go from crazy to insane. Yeah, fair enough. Opie makes an update the next day. Hey everyone. First, I apologize. I never thought this was going to go as crazy as it did. I want all of you to know I read all of your responses and responded to as many as I was able to. Thank you all for your amazing insights and comments, many that made me laugh, which I needed. I've been sick and that really helps to cheer me up. I had to meet with my lawyer today regarding family issues. My neighbor, best friend, co-worker Laura took me. I really felt awful and driving wasn't a good idea. We were talking about this on the way and we were both asking a lot of the same questions that all of you were asking. The big one was that we were asking about the circumstances of her transfer. She went from Med-Surg 4W to the ER. That is a huge change. I have to work tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. But Laura and I are going to ask Kim about the transfer and raise a couple of other concerns. After I got home from the meeting with my lawyer, I slept for the rest of the day. Many of you asked about if Claire and I hang outside of work. The answer is no. I really don't know anything about her. I've helped her a few times with patients and different things, but our relationship is 100% purely work-related. That was why I was so surprised that she asked me to do this. That is why I was so surprised that she asked me about being man of honor. I have a very small friend base, and in all honesty, I'd like to keep it that way. I really have no interest in being a part of this. I'm not a wedding person. After reading so many Bridezilla stories and hearing about over-the-top weddings, they've become a huge turn-off to me, spending tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars with insane, unrealistic demands that turn people against each other. Why? I would rather use that money and spend that time planning my next trip or vacation. Many people said that I was being used as a token or prop in the wedding, or a gay best friend. I never really thought about it. I admit that I'm out and proud, but I'm not going to just pretend to be someone's friend just so they can fulfill some kind of fetish they have for wanting to have a gay best friend or some kind of status she feels she needs to fulfill. It takes me a lot to get offended, but if this were actually the case, then I would really be rather offended. I was not put on the face of the earth to be someone's play toy. A lot of people have said that maybe she doesn't have a boyfriend, or she does. She's brought him in before. If she has any insecurity, I don't understand it. She is attractive, smart, and knows her stuff, so I'm at a loss as to why she's acting like this. A lot of people say go to HR. I'm starting that process with my boss, Kim. She is completely aware of the situation, being with us when all this happened. She has told me that she's watching the situation and will jump in if I need her to. I trust her completely. While Kim and HR can control the situation from the hospital, they can't control the situation from a personal level if she were to maybe follow me home or a situation like that. So I think that covers it all. I wish I could say this is over, but most likely there is more to come. Set your update me. And some more comments. About the name, OP, you're not just an RN because there's nothing just about RNs or other nurses. You folks, regardless of gender, do the medical heavy lifting, and when we can't get a straight answer from the oh-so-busy MDs, the nurses provide the no-crap information. OP says, my name is kind of an ongoing running inside joke. I'm told at least once a day or so from a patient that I'm just a nurse. One day I heard it 3 times. I don't really take offense to this, and in a joking way, I repeated what the patient said, and my boss Kim jumped my case about it. That's not the case at all. I love my job. It's a huge part of me and who I am. It's a part of my identity. I'm curious about her lists of demands or responsibilities. Like, did she really think you would change your mind now that you had all this BS work to do and money to spend? Opie said, it pretty much had me planning the whole thing. She wanted me to plan the bridal shower, the bachelorette party, coordinate dress shopping and fittings, make sure everyone was having fun with the whole thing, just to name a few. Opie gives a mini update in the comments. I'll be posting an update in a day or two. Things came to a head today and it was pretty much just as everyone was saying. I need to take some time to understand everything that happened today. I also have a meeting scheduled Monday with the director of nursing at my hospital, which should bring closure. I hope. Okay, let's go to that update, 3 days later. This intro is going to be long, but I'm telling you about this for a reason, and later in this update it will make sense. I'm hoping this will be done and that this will be the last of this whole situation. I was born into a family where I was referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with. I lived in the shadows of my sister, who was the child my parents wanted. They wanted one child, which was a girl. That way, Dad had his daddy's girl and Mum had Mummy's little princess. Then I came along. Keep in mind that I'm 23, so back then my parents had options but chose to not use any of those options. So instead, my parents raised my sister, and I was raised by a nanny who even to this day is one of the biggest influences in my life, and I'm so grateful for her. She helped me with so much. I finally realized that all these years later that being referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with, that they stripped me of my humanity and individuality and self-worth as a person. I think that's why I've worked so hard to establish myself in my career and in my life, as a way to become a person again, and not just be that issue that needed to be dealt with. This past Thursday, things came to a head with the bridezilla known as Claire, and the truth came out. My best friend Laura has been sticking close to me when we work together if Claire was to start something. We weren't sure if she was going to leave it alone or start up again. I was really hoping that it was done, but she had to try once again. I've been sick and I had a busy morning, so I really just wanted a few minutes to go to the bathroom, grab a quick snack and maybe breathe. Claire came up and had her list and asked if I had a few minutes to talk about the wedding planning. I looked at her and told her again no, that I was not interested in being a part of her wedding and that I was not going to help in any way, and she needed to drop the subject and leave me alone. Again, she went into the whole thing of how I was going to do this and how much fun it was going to be. Here we go with that line all of you loved the first time. Why in the ever-loving, fresh, creepy hell is it so important for me to be your man of honor? I'm not interested and I'm not doing it. It is exactly as pretty much all of you told me it would be. She was just planning on using me as a token or a play toy. She took all of the effed up gay stereotypes that are out in society and put them into one sentence. What modern liberal woman isn't going to have a gay bestie on her arm for special events? I felt everything in my stomach move and a wave of nausea come over me, and I felt like I couldn't get to the bathroom fast enough. This ticked Laura off to no end. Laura is really kinda like the overprotective sister that I wish I would have had, and took Claire off to visit our boss, Kim, and laid it all out. Everything that was said. While I wasn't in on that conversation, Laura and Kim filled me in on what was said. Kim came to check on me, and I was still hiding in the bathroom. She knocked on the door and asked if she could come in. I asked her for a bottle of water first. While I was waiting, I realized two things. I realized why I chose to not hang out with her and why I didn't like her. I couldn't figure out why I didn't like her, just that there was something that gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I realized that I didn't like her because she is a different version of my sister. While Claire is educated and employed, she doesn't care about other people and their feelings. She's like my sister in the sense that if she wants something bad enough, she'll figure out how to get it. This second thing I realized was that she did exactly what my parents did to me. She completely dehumanized me and reduced me to an entity. Just kinda turned me into a token or a thing for her. I think the word that best describes it is I'm just a play toy. What really gets me is that just like my sister, Claire doesn't think she did anything wrong, and I'm being too sensitive and a delicate snowflake. The next day, an emergency meeting was held at work, and Claire is being suspended pending investigation, and a new transfer is being looked into. Kim made the request for her to be terminated. The director of emergency nursing said that this was the last resort, but she was going to be looking into options which could be sending her to a new hospital or facility. This didn't go over well with me. I asked what would happen if she did the exact same thing to someone different. She didn't really give me an answer, but she said she still needs to look into a few things, and at this point, she is suspended. Anyway, here it is. I'm still pretty sick and had to work this weekend. If I can, I'll respond. I want to thank everyone for all the amazing support. I'm going back to my lawyer to see if he can figure out how to send her a cease and desist letter to make sure she doesn't contact me. I'm heading to bed. Have a good night. Edit, I keep forgetting to thank my boyfriend. He has been with me on this, but more in the background. First, when we were laughing about it, but when everything on Thursday happened, he was there as well. Laura was able to get him away from his unit for a little bit for the it will be okay boyfriend hug. He stayed the night with me a couple of nights as well as also helping me with being sick. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have such great support. Wow, the absolute audacity of some people. Like just a token gay friend as your best man, and it being someone you've only known for a few months? Like, how do people think this is okay? Anyway, let's read some final comments. I can't imagine this is the first time Claire did something dehumanizing to her patients or colleagues, and who would even want someone in your wedding who doesn't want to be there? Jesus, this poor guy. I'm glad he had people in his corner because this is awful. Totally a side issue, but it's hilarious how bad a job she did of selling the position. It'll be fun. Also, here's a huge amount of work I want you to do for free. Side issue to the side issue, when people try to persuade other people to do things with "it'll be fun," that's true, what, 10% of the time? The poor guy, the way he describes it sounds like he got trauma from his childhood, and that brainless amoeba of a coworker just re-traumatized him with her stomping all over. Gods, I cannot stand people like this. There was a girl at my high school who was exactly like this. Toxic AF, manipulative, pushy, and collecting all the queer people in our grade like infinity stones so she could look liberal and hide the fact that she was quite clearly a homophobe. It was to the point that one of my absolute closest friends, still to this day over a decade later, hid his sexuality at school. He was proudly out to friends, family, co-workers, etc., and had an extremely supportive family, so he never felt obligated to hide it. But after her weird-ass behaviour in grade 11, he hid his dating life at school, never mentioning genders when bringing it up. Myself and a few other members of our friend group were obviously aware he was gay, but he requested that we never mention it, going as far as asking us to lie and say he was straight if she ever asked. It was a valid concern. She was so far into everyone's frickin' business. Just typing that situation out now, at almost 30, it doesn't seem like it's even real, and it astounds me that people can be so freaking weird and trashy that their creepy-ass behavior doesn't even seem possible. I'm glad that OP had a great support system around him to fend off the psycho. Yeah, here. What do you guys think about that one? Let me know your thoughts down below. Anyway, we're going to leave that one there and move on to another story. Alright, we're jumping over to marriage. This one was written by user Complex Life, and it's titled, My husband and I took in my best friend and her 3 young children, and I'm regretting it. My 30 female best friend, 29 female, just recently lost her husband, home, car, and all income. Her husband suddenly passed and was the only one working while she stayed at home with her 1-year-old twins and 4-year-old. They had nowhere to go, so we took them in until she can save up enough to get an apartment. There was no life insurance. My husband isn't happy that they are here. He has told me that he does not like my friend at all, and that she's taken me away from him, and has taken his home away. He is paranoid that she is stealing our things when we aren't home, and wants to put locks on our bedroom and office doors, as well as put cameras in them. Today, my friend went into our room to smoke a cigarette on our patio to take a second away from her kids when we weren't home. She called me to tell me that she was going onto our patio, and my husband started freaking out. Now he says he feels like he needs to get an apartment, that he doesn't feel safe. He doesn't have a place in our home that they don't have access to. It breaks my heart that he hates my friend so much when she hasn't done anything. She's just going through one of the toughest times in her life. But I don't know if I'm being too trusting of my friend and inconsiderate of his feelings, or if he is being too paranoid. Yeah, he does sound weirdly paranoid, but you gotta understand that people's homes are their safe spaces, and when people invade them, no matter how, friendly they might be, it's still invading your safe space. And particularly if you aren't friends with that person, you can get pretty antsy pretty quickly. I think regardless, there needs to be like some sort of deadline to work towards here. Let's go to the comments. I think there needs to be a discussion of a timeline for when she is leaving. He agreed to take her in the short term, at least that's the impression I got reading this, so he needs to chill a bit about them living in his space. That being said, suddenly having another woman he doesn't like and 3 kids in the house is understandably not awesome. I think the solution is to set a timeline for when she's leaving, help her find a place as her friend, but stick to the timeline. Opie replies, "The agreement was a medium-term stay, 8 months to get her kids into daycare, get a job, save up for a car and home. I do think it was a mistake to not have a solid move-out date set for her. Definitely time to set that. She's only been here for a month now." Opie adds, "I agree that she should not have gone into our bedroom while we weren't home, and I need to re-establish these boundaries with her immediately. I have no problem with him putting the cameras and locks up if this makes him feel better, even though I will be talking with her. I don't have the option to be too afraid to talk to her. My husband is my priority over her feelings." And on daycare and the job, she's waiting to get approved from government daycare assistance, but yes, she's actively looking for work in daycare. She's only been with us for 1 month. The office door is always locked and she's not gone in there at all, and she's not gone into our bedroom besides that one time, I guess that I'm aware of. If you're in the United States, the children would be eligible for Social Security benefits. You should encourage your friend to apply for those if she hasn't already. Your friend and her children may also qualify for Medicaid health benefits too. Opie says, "She's been applying for everything possible. I'll make sure she's also applied for these. Thank you." This, Opie, how long are they already in your home? Who is paying for food, diapers, and the very important cigarettes? Are you so sure your husband is not right and she's snooping everywhere where she should not snoop? When you live with friends, you get to know them. Why do you not let your husband put up cameras? Are you afraid he's right and do not want to stand up against your friend or for your husband? And if your husband is wrong, he'll be reassured. Look, it's a lousy situation for your friend to be in, but this is because of choices her husband and she made. She has to get her crap together ASAP for her kids' sake. There is leaning on someone and taking advantage of someone. Opie replies, "She's been here for 1 month now. She's getting government assistance for food and diapers. We have a stash of cigarettes we've been giving her because we don't smoke, and a common gift from my husband's family when they visit from overseas are cigarettes. I've known this woman for 15 years, and I wouldn't for a second think she would steal from us. There's no way for me to know 100% unless we put cameras up, which we will be doing. We already have cameras in the front yard, backyard, and living room. It's not that I'm not letting him. I did think it was just a bit excessive. We can put locks and cameras up. I disagree on this situation being her fault, but I 100% agree she needs to get her life together for her and the kids, but it takes more than 1 month to do that." One comment says, "Not to mention that her, Opie's husband, is Chinese, which means other culture, other way of dealing with things. They are known to be very reserved comparing to Occidental people." And from Opie's post history, it seems that their home is a constant shelter for any friend of hers. I'd be freaking out too if I'd gotten married and ended up running a shelter for people, not being able to be with my family, and my family only, for some time. And we're not even talking about all the other issues here. Who's paying the bills? Who's buying food for all of them? How even your very own bedroom is all of a sudden occupied by someone else? Opie has to make a choice. Does she really want to be married? It seems to be the female version of the "my husband got married but is still behaving like he's single" story. Opie replies, "Yes, he is Chinese. Our home has not been a constant shelter, although I do need to be better at saying no to my friends in need. She is the second person to stay with us. The first friend was a disaster, and I won't be making that mistake again. He was 100% on board with helping my current friend out. Her situation is heartbreaking, especially for her children. We did not want them to be homeless. There are a lot of details about their story that is just so effing sad. She has no bills and she gets government assistance for food and diapers. Our room and the office are off limits, and I'll be re-establishing these rules and boundaries today. She cannot and will not be allowed to do what she did again. I disagree that I'm acting single. We both agreed to help a family in need. But it's hard, and I am realizing I need to be more firm with her, but I cannot read the mind of someone who tells me there's no problem until 1 month in." It's his home too. Was he even part of the decision? She needs to find her own place. She can't stay with you forever. Opie says, "We discussed the decision for a few weeks before letting her move in. We were both 100% on the same page at first, until now. It's obvious that she cannot stay forever. She's only been here for 1 month. To another commenter, Opie says he was at first. We were both kind of excited to have the kids here, since we'd been trying for children for over a year. We discussed her moving in extensively before allowing her to, and he was 100% on board. He did. He's the one that originally brought it up. Why is she not staying with family? Opie says she has no reliable family. Honestly, it breaks my heart that absolutely no one on her side or her husband's family has helped or even reached out in their own. I've known her for 15 years and it's always been that way. She was staying with her grandparents in another state for a few months, but they're elderly with a lot of health problems and it became too much for them to handle in a 2-bedroom condo. Her family is horrible. Her mother was in prison when she graduated high school, and her father kicked her out at 17 for not dropping out of school to care for his new child. It's very sad. And his family, there were no contact with his family even before he passed, unfortunately. Someone says she's taking advantage of you. Opie says she's not taking us for granted at all. She keeps the house clean, cleans up after herself and her children, has assistance for groceries and diapers, waiting to get approved for other assistance. This is the only problem we've had with her in the month she's been here. Her situation is heartbreaking, especially for her 3 children. If it was just her, we would have said no. My husband and I were on the same page with letting her stay. We agreed to 8 months, but I do agree that we need to set a specific move-out date. Did you agree with your husband for her to stay for 8 months? Why save to get a car? She needs deposit for a house rental. She doesn't have a job. Who will help with childcare? I think you entered this in good faith, but it's such a burden to take on. Yes, my husband set the 8 months timeline. She will need a car to get herself to and from work, as well as her children to and from daycare. Public transport where we are is non-existent. She's rebuilding from zero. It's going to be hard. 51% of Americans have life insurance, so it's actually more than half. It's very kind of you to help, but again, them not being prepared for life to happen is not your responsibility. You must pick your poison. Agreed, but my husband and I cannot in good conscience let 3 babies be homeless because of their parents' bad decisions. Yeah, it's an interesting discussion, and there seems to be a bit of a mix in the comments. What do you guys think? Okay, let's go to an update. 17 days later. This update is a few weeks overdue, but a lot has happened. It's so hard to fit every single detail of a situation in one post, especially while trying to respect my friend's privacy while going through such a rough time. But I took a lot of y'all's advice. I apologized to my husband and asked him what boundaries he has and what needs to change for him to feel more comfortable. We did have this conversation before they moved in, but things are so different than expected. I realized that I was putting my friend before my husband, and it was a harsh wake-up call. My husband wasn't thinking about leaving me, but he was definitely unhappy. I'm glad we had this talk because we've been a lot happier being on the same page. Well, we sat down and talked to my friend, and it went great. She apologized for going into our bedroom when we weren't home and agreed that it was unacceptable and will not happen again. I told her the bedroom and study were off limits, no exceptions. Her children need to keep their toys in the playroom we made for them and not downstairs so they aren't taking over the entire house. She agreed to these things completely. We changed the door locks on the 2 rooms, as well as added cameras and a safe for valuables. Most importantly, we told her she needed to get a job and her children in daycare ASAP, and gave her a hard deadline of April 1st. She took the whole conversation really well, and said she needed this to happen so she could get out of her sadness and start building her life for her and her kids. 5 days later, she got a job and found a daycare for her children. It's been a complete switch in the energy of the house. My husband and I are spending more time alone in our home together, and all of our set boundaries have been respected. To everyone that said they'd never take in their friend and 3 kids, that is exactly why she had nowhere else to go. No one said yes. It's been rough on everyone, but my husband and I are confident in our decision to help, even more so now that we both feel listened to. He has also worked on his anger towards said friend and feels more at ease while talking to her and existing in the same space. It also helps that he sees she is taking our rules and deadlines seriously and acting accordingly. Reddit obliterated me, and while I don't agree with kicking her out, I appreciate the brutalness that made me realize I was not backing my husband the way I vowed to. And some final comments. Someone says, "Children in daycare, you're delusional, she cannot afford that." Opie says no, she can't. She has assistants and found an in-home daycare that is working with her. She still has to pay some, but it's a lot more manageable. Her smoking. Her smoking isn't my concern. If I put my energy into micromanaging everything she does, I'd go insane. She got her children in a daycare and got a job. I'd say she's getting her crap together. Yikes, April. She should be out of their way before then. 6 months to start from scratch is almost not enough time. We're happy with the move-out date. I don't know if I said it in the other post or not, but keep in mind that if you let someone stay in your home, you will have a hell of a time getting rid of them if your friend suddenly decides she doesn't want to leave. Opie says, I'm not sure how much of these will actually help, but we did create a written contract with the rules and move-out date that we all signed. Maybe it won't really hold up in court, but it's something. So glad things worked out. Friends need some boundaries too. Yes, I was so stressed about having too many rules, I didn't even think about the fact that it'd be so helpful for her as well. That's good you all had the talk. I definitely couldn't take in someone and their 3 kids, but one thing's for sure, and she should have definitely known this, is you never go through the owner's bedroom. That is like a sacred area. My parents never told me that as a kid, but I've always thought that. It's the one area in the house you do not enter without permission. No idea what she was thinking going in there. Opie says her kids just lost their dad and don't fully understand it. They have meltdowns sometimes, and at the worst, they all have a meltdown at the same time. She was desperate for a safe space for herself, which I can understand, but she can't compromise our safe space in the meantime. Go out back or front or lock the door, lock the bathroom door, etc. Motherhood seems intense. You did well considering taking in a single mum with 3 kids. We need more people like you and your husband, people who don't get scared to sacrifice their comfort over someone else's living. I'm 100% sure all the good deeds you do to those kids and mum will come back 100 times more. You never know what life has planned for you. Once my parents took in a woman with 6 kids, 2 own children and 4 adopted, where the husband tragically lost his life. Since then I have 6 more siblings. I am grateful to Allah for them. Opie replies, It was not an easy decision to make and even more not easy living in it, but my heart broke as I witnessed them jump from house to house and have no idea what was happening or when they would see their dad again. My husband and I are fighting a fertility battle, so in a way I took all of my sadness of not being able to conceive and poured it into the 3 little ones. The experience we've gotten to prepare us for parenthood has been irreplaceable, and the love I have for them is deeper than I could have ever expected. I truly hope that my husband and I made a difference in their lives, giving them a place to be stable and safe. Our discomfort has a checkout date. Theirs doesn't. Thank you for sharing your story with me. Okay guys, I'm going to leave that one there. Yeah, I think that comment from Opie saying that is exactly why she has nowhere else to go, in response to people saying they'd never take their friend and 3 kids in, is a pretty confronting, harsh truth about, how we are today. As soon as something becomes an inconvenience to us, we're pretty quick to toss it aside. So kudos to OP and her husband for, taking in this young family. Anyway guys, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Otherwise, we're moving on again. Okay, this next one was written by user Accidentally Related, and it's titled, I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 23% related to my husband. Hey everyone. I've known my whole life that I'm donor conceived. I grew up in New South Wales and my parents were always open about it, so it was never some big secret. I didn't think much about it beyond that, though until a couple of years ago when my husband and I decided to take an ancestry DNA test. We thought it'd be fun. Maybe I'd find some half-siblings and he'd learn a bit more about his side of the family. Well, we got the results and I matched with him, my husband, as a half-sibling. At first, I thought it had to be some kind of mistake, or maybe I misunderstood something. But no, after looking into it, we realized his dad was also a donor, and no one ever told him. Now, here we are, married for years with 2 kids, and we're still trying to figure out how to process the fact that we're siblings. I don't even know how to explain how I feel. It's just overwhelming. I love him, of course, but this changes so much. We've already spoken to a genetic counselor and we're trying to move forward, but it's like everything we thought we knew about our family has been flipped upside down. I just feel kind of lost. Has anyone else here gone through something like this? I'd really appreciate hearing from anyone who has dealt with something similar, or even just your thoughts. Whoa, let's go to the comments. I think you need some family counseling. First between you and your husband, and then later down the road when you inevitably tell your children. I'm not sure if you're able to take leave from work, but it would be a good idea to look into that because this is absolutely something you need to process without work distraction. Opie replies, I'm in therapy myself, but unfortunately my husband is not open to that right now. He's in a big denial phase and does not wish to talk about it. I'm so sorry. This was bound to happen somewhere in the world at some point given the current unregulated fertility industry that puts profits above the rights and interests of the donor-conceived child. If you're up to it and think it would help, I have a few pieces of media to recommend. The Man with 1,000 Kids, a documentary on Netflix. Laura Hai, a content creator and advocate for DCP on TikTok and Instagram. Multiple books have helped me, such as Inheritance by Dani Shapiro, Uprooted and The Lost Family. I've not come across this particular scenario where children were conceived by accidental incest between DCP, but a lot of people have other traumas related to the industry and have explored that. I also understand if you don't want to research the situation. I didn't when I first learned I was a DCP by surprise. Talking to someone is important though. You will be okay. Your kids will be okay. It's super weird and icky that this happened, but it's not your fault. Opie replies, I've actually seen most of that media and read a couple of books from the Australian DCP. I'm lucky to have been told early that I was donor conceived. It was never a huge factor in my life, until now. Let's go to an update. Thank you so much for all of the responses, support and advice. I've taken some time to process and I wanted to provide an update on where we're at. First, I've been in individual therapy and working through everything. It's been incredibly helpful to have a space to just unravel my thoughts. My husband has also told me that he's open to couples therapy, which is a big step for us, and I'm hopeful it will help us navigate this together. To confirm some things, yes, my father-in-law is the donor, which makes him not only my husband's father, but also mine. It was a lot to take in. We're both really angry that my husband's dad never told him the truth, and at the moment, neither of us are talking to him. It's just too much. We've also discovered about 40 other siblings so far, all of whom live nearby. That was another layer of this experience we weren't prepared for. We haven't met them all yet, but knowing they're out there brings its own set of challenges and questions. As for our marriage, no, we're not divorcing. We love each other and are committed to working through this, but we haven't told our children yet. We plan to get professional advice before we do. This isn't something we want to rush into without understanding the best way to approach it for their sake. I know many of you are part of the donor-conceived community, and I just want to say that while I'm very aware and involved in spaces like We Are Donor Conceived, and I follow creators like Laura Hai, Donor Dylan, The Queer Mama, Rachel, strangers like me, DC, Sunny, Evie Lucas, etc., I'm not interested in speaking to anyone publicly about our situation. I'm really proud of people like Victoria Hill for going public, but that's not what's best for my family right now. Thanks again for listening, for the advice, and for your understanding. We're taking this one day at a time. One comment says, so very impressed with you both. This must be such hard work and my heart goes out to you. As a donor, this is my greatest fear. I was not anonymous by choice. Back in the day, the fertility clinics capitalized on a naivety. For F's sake, 40 siblings nearby, their kids are going to have potential dates DNA tested. Yeah, how many kids do those siblings have? That's a lot of first cousins to avoid. Genetically, and thankfully for all those people, the concern regarding birth defects associated with incest are most likely to show up in close family members, like full siblings or parents or child, and quite rare between more distant relatives, but also birth defects generally only show up after multiple generations of incest. Oh my god, this is like Jonathan Meyer all over again. It's sad seeing stories like this where the fallout from someone's secrets is so devastating. 40 siblings? God damn. I feel like that shouldn't be allowed. A donor should only be allowed to be used a couple of times. 40 plus is absolutely ridiculous. Flooding the gene pool with one set of genes is just unethical. My parents were told there was a cap of 10 babies for the donor they used. I've now matched with 17 siblings so far. Absolutely no one was really paying attention to the fertility industry in the 80s and 90s. 40 other siblings so far, all of whom live nearby. Zero chance Opie and her husband are the only ones in this situation. Nightmare scenario. I hope they can navigate it together with grace. So many layers they'll have to deal with. Telling the kids there are 40 other half-siblings? Side note, so was Opie's husband's dad the original donor and his sperm was just used for every donation in the immediate area, or what? Yeah, that's just bizarre. I gotta be honest, I haven't even given this industry a thought or, how it might operate in a situation like this. But yeah, reading that, it definitely seems like there should be some regulation. And there might be now, but obviously back when OP and her husband were born, there wasn't. Anyway guys, we're gonna leave it there. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.